Welcome to video 3. If you've missed the first video or the second video, please click on the links below and then come back to this one. Let's go on with Sandy's story. So you'd think the death of Diana, just the day before my wedding, would be the sign that convinced me to call the wedding off. And I wish I had, because the next morning I awake on bloody sheets. First I thought, sarcastically, what a perfect day for my period to come. Then I did a little bit of math and I realised I wasn't menstruating, even though I was bleeding down there. If that wasn't the ultimate sign that I should become a runaway bride, I don't know what is. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't let everyone down. So I went through with the wedding and immediately afterwards was rushed to the hospital. An injection of something stopped the bleeding. Then a series of tests left the doctors confused. Apparently there was nothing medically wrong with me. To this day, I think it was my body's way of warning me, like my soul was rejecting this marriage. Long story short, the relationship went south quickly, so I began to focus all my time on my practice. There, I helped kids and their families overcome everything from depression and anger to serious trauma and autism. And while my career began to take off, it wasn't long before I found myself in the midst of a long, soul-crushing and very expensive divorce. A divorce that left me with nothing but a broken psyche and a mountain of debt. It got so bad I was forced to leave my upscale apartment and move into the only place I can afford. An old house in a section of Los Angeles that was so dangerous that it was made famous in rap songs. I would literally drive my dogs to safer neighbourhoods just to walk them. At night I'd hear gunshots, followed by the roar of police helicopters overhead. All I had left was a mattress. The rest of the furniture went to David just to get his lawyers to go away. At night I'd huddle on that mattress with my 3 puppies and cry myself to sleep. I never felt so alone. The only joy I still had in my life, other than my dogs, were those kids that I worked with. But my personal problems began to interfere there too. One day, I must have been wearing my heart on my sleeve because Jacob, a child I helped get through a lot of sadness and depression in his own life, turns to me and smiles and says, "Time to change that channel, Sandy." At first I didn't understand, but then it hit me. When any of my kids would feel down and helpless, I would tell them if they're not happy with what they see in their lives, they need to change the channel, change the way they look at their lives and their problems. So Jacob was throwing my own words back at me. It almost made me tear up. First because it proves he was listening, and second because he was right. If I wanted my life to change, I needed to change the way I looked at my life. So that's what I did. I made a simple switch. Instead of seeing this as Act 3 of the fairy tale, I started looking at it as still part of Act 1. That day, I became determined to write the Hollywood ending to my story. Now, at this point, I wasn't even thinking about attracting anything big into my life. I started small. I set an intention to have one awesome day, a single day where everything went my way, and it worked. The next morning, I was shocked to find a parking spot in front of my office, something that's usually impossible. Later, I found a $10 bill peeking out from under the floor mat of my car. And probably most unexpected, the barista at Starbucks spelled my name right. Yay! Like I said, these were small things. But at the time, they meant the world to me. Getting this instant feedback from the universe all at once proved to be the spark I needed to relight the flame. Now, before I move on, let me say this. If you're ever in a bad place, if everything seems to be going wrong in your life, this is a simple but very powerful way to wrestle back control. Change the channel. Spin your situation into something positive, and the world will reward you for that positivity. It works for my kids, it works for me, and it will work for you too. Now, I don't want you to think for 1 second that what I'm saying is to simply think positive and you'll get that new client, that $1 million bonus, or even that hot guy or gal. Because, as I mentioned earlier, that's not how it works. Thinking positive can help you attract small changes into your life. Oftentimes, these are insignificant things, like the correct spelling on your coffee. But even those tiny things are important because they shift momentum. So instead of sinking faster and faster into a dark hole, you begin to steadily rise into the daylight. It's from this position, with the bright sun shining in your face, that you can attract all the great things you want in your life. And that's exactly what happened for me. Please click on the link below for the next video in the series, or visit mindsetcoachingsecret.com now for more information about Sandy and her mindset coaching secret called Instant Switch.